Hello, and welcome to MoviePod, a weekly cinema podcast. This week we're doing a film from 1986 directed by Jim Henson called Labyrinth. Labyrinth has a lot of puppets in it, and it was kind of a box office disappointment. It didn't make much money because it went up against a busy summer where Karate Kid Part 2 and Top Gun were in the theater, and got kind of mixed reviews from critics, but with home video releases and some TV broadcasts, a lot of people came around to, especially younger kids who grew up with the film. And by the time Jim Henson died, it was considered a cult classic. And after Henson died, a lot of the major publications that even derided the film are now in favor of it. I'm joined for the third time to the show, Andrew Joe Potter. How's it going, Potter?
Ryan, go to your room. Play with your DVDs. Forget about the podcast.
So, you love this movie, right?
I love this movie. I cannot get enough of Labyrinth, and I feel like I've in the reclamation of this movie, I've been driving the train for like 25 years. This was like a classic family VHS tape for me growing up. Obviously, I was not alive in 1986, so I can't attest to the original experience. But for me, this was always like sort of a triumvirate with Neverending Story and Princess Bride. And then you could throw in maybe like Willow. There was sort of this major wave of family fantasy films in the 80s. And this was definitely like a core text for me.
Yeah, because like I did not grow up with Labyrinth. The first time I watched it was at a friend's place maybe like a decade ago. And she grew up with it. And like we watched it on VHS. It's, for me in fantasy, I don't know. I like a lot of fantasy movies, but with me, like, if I'm gonna like throw on, I can throw on a science fiction movie no matter what the quality is, and I'll have a blast with it. But with fantasy, like, I just don't really have a sort of drive towards it. And I feel like something like all these 80s ones like Willow, stuff like Willow, Dark Crystal, Labyrinth. Like I love Princess Bride, but I think that's a lot more of a it's a bit more a talkie film. It's a lot more the fantastical world is like specifically fantastical because there's a grounded reality as well. And yeah, it's like even watching Labyrinth this time, like, it's a movie that I admire a lot more than I enjoy. I think and we watched both of us watched the Inside. What's the full title of it? It's Inside.
I think it's Inside the Labyrinth.
Yeah, which is like a special feature released in the. I think it must have been like released on TV or something like that because it's like an hour long, and I loved that so much. All the making of stuff, all the specific craftsmanship of it. But like I think when I'm just watching it itself, like I think that I don't know, like same reason I'm not that big into Wizard of Oz. It's just like I don't really latch onto the characters. I don't really feel like the draw to this world in a way. Like I appreciate how this world looks, but more so than I do appreciate the world building itself.
Interesting. I think going back through some of the initial criticism of the film, the contemporary reviews, Gene Siskel has like an absolutely scathing review, 1-star review, calls young Jennifer Connelly is unmemorable as the lead, absolutely hates the visual style of the film. And one of the big criticisms of I think both Siskel and Ebert both hinted at this in their reviews, is the sense of when it's this magical fantasy world where up is down and down is up and everything, all the rules are constantly changing, it feels like it undercuts the stakes because literally anything can happen, and it's just it's hard to have tension when it's just something random is going to pop up at any moment and completely change the trajectory of our young heroine's quest.
What I think works for Labyrinth, though, because I do agree with that, like, the rules are kind of just made up as they go along, but because it is like a fantasy of like it's a coming of age story at the end of the day. It's Jennifer Connelly's character Sarah, who's like supposed to be like 16 in this. She's supposed to be 16, but she acts like a 10-year-old. And because it's kind of her trying to come of age and like kind of learn like maybe I shouldn't sell my baby, my little baby brother to like a Goblin King, like. It's kind of like, more about her journey and her stress levels. Like, when the Goblin King like changes the clock entirely to like speed up the quest and stuff. Like, it's kind of like the worst nightmare she can go through step by step while making some friends on the way. But I think the fact that it is like supposed to be from her perspective kind of like allows some of those rules to kind of it allows you to kind of go, a movie to kind of go with the flow and kind of make things up as they go along. Because like Like, I truly love all the, like, how can you not like the puppetry in this movie? Like, it is just so much clever stuff. And whenever they're interacting with one another, I totally buy it, and I love it. Jennifer Connelly becomes a great actress as time goes on. She wins an Oscar 15 years after this, but like, she's not a great actress in this movie.
See, that's funny, because I absolutely adore this character. And maybe it's because when I first encountered this movie, I was younger than the character is supposed to be in the film. So I probably saw this for the first time when I was maybe 8, 9, 10 years old. So for me, and we're going to have to like couch some of the commentary here, as two guys in their 30s now talking about this. A character who's supposed to be 16, Jennifer Connelly is 14 years old when the movie comes out. And there's definitely a subtext / just straight up text within the film about creepy older men kind of being the being part of this weird kind of teenage fantasy. So we have to couch our criticism. But when I first saw the film as an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old boy, I'm looking up at this slightly older girl from how old I was, and think, oh wow, like she's such like she was real in the sense that, you know, she's kind of got this Luke Skywalker thing where she's kind of a brat, and from the beginning, like, she's kind of every single the movie starts and she's in the real world, and her father, her kind of like lousy, not super hands-on father, and like kind of wicked coded stepmother is like they ask her to babysit the half brother for the evening if she doesn't have any plans. And of course she doesn't have any plans because she's this massive introvert. She's kind of stuck in her own little fantasy world.
And even the stepmoms, like, you should be going on dates and stuff at your age. Like, you should be kind of getting out of your shell a bit.
Yeah, she's on high alert that Sarah might be an incel. So she's strongly encouraging. This movie is ultimately about reaffirming Reagan era heteronormative lifestyle. So, Sarah, you're not allowed to be single. You're definitely not allowed to be a lesbian. You have to be in a heteronormative, go on dates with the boys. Otherwise, stay at home, take care of the baby, and that will be your lesson in future motherhood, because that's how we value you as a person. You're here to be a future mother.
Yeah, and stop get your head of all those books you're reading, because they're making you imagine fantastical worlds. Like,
yeah, your world's not fantastic. You're in upstate New York, in all these like kind of a desperate slat housing. It looks like the town from the Goonies. It's just this kind of like nothing town. There's no humans there. It's just this northeastern United States existence, and clearly her trajectory is to be a mother at some point. So she's got to stop being a kid and start being a woman.
And the movie when we first get to her in the movie, like, she's like reciting part of like a play or a book in a park, and like, very thespian style. So you kind of think like the way she's dressed is almost like is this Victorian movie. It's kind of like a fun fake out that actually it just is in America.
She's kind of dressed like, and we haven't said all the key personnel in this movie yet, but George Lucas is the executive producer. Doesn't seem to have a major hands-on role in shaping the movie, except that there are elements that do seem sort of borrowed from the Star Wars iconography. And I think to that point, Sarah in the movie is kind of dressed in a bit of a Han Solo kind of look. She's got this like kind of billowy blouse with like a vest on and like some kind of brown suede moccasin loafers. Like, she's kind of like Sloane from Ferris Bueller meets Han Solo, which I think it has a bit of a swashbuckling look where it could be fantasy, it could be on the high seas, it could be space opera, but it is of a piece of that.
It looks timeless. Like, it looks like she's out of place in time, because like no 16-year-olds dressing like that, like in Reagan's America.
Except she's wearing light wash denim. So she's quintessentially, she's the American girl, but there's this kind of timeless fantasy aspect of it as well.
Yeah, and like, I think that, Jennifer Connelly, the way that she interacts with like the environment and stuff, she does a great job with that. I just think that a lot of the struggle is like, I don't think there's much to the character, like, but also like, I don't know, like, it's with me, like, I never really like, what would you say the age range for this movie is? You say you watched something when you're like 8 years old, right? Like, you're probably the exact target demographic.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where we used to get these sorts of movies where kind of like maybe a shade younger than like the audience for Ghostbusters, where there's a bit in here. And this script is a Terry Jones script
for Monty Python.
From Monty Python. So it's got a little bit of that funny humor that. And a bit of almost a meta humor too about the fantasy genre, where you've got a lot of these side characters making comments about kind of their utility to the plot and how their job is just to be the obstacle that a hero has to kind of transgress. But so there is stuff here for adults, but I do think it is kind of maybe for 12-year-old, like 12-year-old. Like it definitely works on that 12-year-old level. There's some kind of frightening imagery in this, but nothing that really, like, it never holds the tension long enough to really become terrifying, and it usually undercuts the terror with a fart joke or a funny puppet that kind of has a goofy voice. So what was your take on that? Like,
for me, I don't know. I think that it's probably 8 to 12 range is probably the right target range for this movie. Like, and I think for me, like, I just like never really latched on to anything that was like, when I was 12 years old, I really never latched on too much that was marketed to me as a 12-year-old. Like, I completely skip like young adult books as a whole for the most part, except for maybe like Harry Potter. But like, even some of the Golden Compass I read was like kind of like a bit targeted a little bit older than like a young teen. But like, yeah, I think this is just like an age. This is kind of like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out why I cannot latch onto this movie as much as I want to. It's like all the parts of it I really like. The puppetry is just so cool, and like it's not like it's not like a horror movie that's going to be full of like jumps and scares, but like it's so charming at so many different points in all its production design, and watching all those behind the scenes stuff, like looking at like they had so many holes in the set so they can put like puppets popping on through, or like they say it look almost like Swiss cheese, and just like it's like I think that like what really helps this movie, and I've seen some critics say it too, is that like Labyrinth, by this period of time in the 80s, like the Disney was not doing well with its animated features. Like they had shit like The Black Cauldron, which people didn't really like, another fantasy movie, and like I forget who it was that like it's like with having these puppets and these environments, it feels more real than animation because it's something that just has texture, you can reach out and touch it almost. And because it is something that is real. And like, I think that's probably the reason why a lot of people are coming back to this and liking it a lot. And like, this movie turns 40 this year. And I think big part is that like nothing here is other than the owl CGI, it's all practical.
And there's one other sequence we can talk about later that is particularly obviously bad green screen. And I think they realized it at the time too. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, it is practical. And even it's kind of this brilliant mix of traditional puppetry where you've got 3 or 4, often I think they said 5 people per main character that are operating the limbs, the mouth, the eyes. They're also doing a lot of remote control puppetry, which, we're talking about 40 years ago. Obviously, like, this comes out, I think, 11 years after Jaws. So, like, there is some, and it's coming out after a lot of the, Star Wars, right? So there is like some of the animatronic stuff is like pretty awesome, including there's one main character, Hoggle, it's a little person in a costume, but then the entire face is operated by a team of remote control puppeteers. So it's this beautiful blend of, a person in like a rubber suit. And then, like, when you first see the character, you're like, oh, this looks pretty janky. But then, like a lot of aspects of this film, because everyone in the film just kind of shrugs and goes along with it, and no one is making any kind of snide comment about how silly it all is. Like, you kind of start to take it at face value. And by the end of the movie, it does seem like a completely real, fluid character. To me, that's just so cool in a world where, all the blockbusters released today, it's just all CGI gobbledygook. To have something that's so, tactile and like you feel like it's like it exists with weight in the world is those are the parts that still kind of get my brain going.
Yeah, like think about how much people love Baby Yoda, and like even like Baby Yoda appeared at the Oscars and everything, and they clearly had like someone puppeting puppeting this Baby Yoda underneath the chair at the Oscars, and like it's because it's something that feels so you're charmed by it because it is something that is real. It's not some disgusting CGI abomination that like you can just like it's not like Jar Jar Binks, for example, where it's kind of like this is clearly something that's not of our reality. With the puppets, they become our reality because they are something that the actors can actually look at. And part of the charm, I love watching behind the scenes stuff with the Muppets, especially when it comes to Muppets and little kids. There's one great video where Jim Henson's with Kermit, is like playing Kermit, and Kermit's saying like, you know, the thing about like, you know, puppeteering is that like, you know, you're paying attention to the frog and not the man behind him, because it's just the magic of it. And like, you totally buy it, even though you can see Jim Henson there. The little girl is looking right at Kermit the Frog. And with Sesame Street, it's obvious a thing where kids are able to look past these the puppeteers and kind of get into the maybe kayfabe of it all, of like, these are real people. And I know my you know, I think my brother-in-law is like this, where he just does not really understand the Muppets in a sense, because like, well, they're just puppets. But like, it's funny that they've become like Muppets have become like celebrities in their own way. Like Kermit the Frog is Kermit the Frog, and like, you know, Kermit the Frog is playing like Bob Cratchit or like a character in a movie. And I love the fact that like, just the puppet creations can kind of just become larger than any kind of CGI creation. Like, I don't know, like Tilly Norwood or whatever is going to be able to like pop off like this.
No, yeah, and I think that's the interesting comparison, because in a way, Tilly Norwood is a puppet. It's a completely digital puppet, but it doesn't have any of this. It doesn't have any of the soul. It doesn't have any of the hands-on manipulation that we expect from like a Muppets movie or some of these old Jim Henson productions, and of which there were very few, right? Like, Jim Henson only directed 3 films, and this was his final film.
Yeah, because he did Great Muppet Caper, Dark Crystal, then this. And then this kind of like took the wind out of his sails.
Yeah, apparently he was quite depressed with the sort of lackluster box office. I think if I, just off the top of my head, I think it made around 40 something million, and it's reported to have cost 25 million. And of course that's 25 million, but you know, what percentage of that alone was David Bowie? Yeah. But also this would have taken 3 or 4 years of his life of like hands-on planning. And just even, they said even just the design of all the different puppets used in the movie, all the different goblins and creatures, took years even before they started shooting.
I think it's in the behind the scenes from Muppet Treasure Island where like Brian Henson says something like, the thing about a Muppet movie is that every single shot is an effect shot. Like every single shot in this movie, except for some of the stuff like early on, like our house, like there is going to be some special effect going on in some way. And you can tell how these movies get, like, I'm surprised these movies are able to stay actually surprisingly cheap, because like there's a lot of craftsmen who are making these things come to life, and a lot of creativity in how to get these things to work. Like there's the eyeball monster that we see later on that like basically is like almost like a moss with a bunch of like stalks with eyeballs going along. And like the way they had to like figure out how do we get the eyeballs to kind of track Jennifer Connelly just walking around. Like they came up with this whole like complex cable system. So like I love, like, what I love so much about the behind the scenes of this movie is that, like, you're basically watching people problem solve something that, like how can we actually get this world to work? How can we actually make this tactile and real? And the puppet people are just so creative with coming up with solutions.
Yeah, and there are, you know, this movie really is, it's kind of, it's not breaking the mold in terms of plotting. It is just kind of the odyssey of person on a quest and has to conquer, you know, 10 different obstacles to get to the center of the labyrinth. These series of obstacles, but each of those obstacles is kind of this massive set piece, this massive puppetry set piece. So maybe do you want to kind of maybe start from the beginning and go through some of our favorite set pieces? And I think even just maybe starting with
let's start with how she gets there first, where she. You know, we mentioned that she is supposed to look after her baby brother Toby, and like she doesn't want to. She sees that her because she loves her fantasy world, she has like this like a teddy bear collection, which is kind of a, you know, for a 16-year-old girl, it's kind of supposed to be like, this is kind of like something that she should have moved beyond. And her one teddy bear named Lancelot is missing, and she goes to Toby's room and sees that they've given it's clear that the parents gave Toby this bear. Like it wasn't like this baby was not crawling around picking up the bear, I don't think. And so she gets so pissed off at like this, like, you know, how dare you dumb baby take away my precious teddy bear? I'm a 16-year-old girl. And so then she gets so pissed off, she wishes that someone would take her away from all this, because she's talking about like one of her books that she's been reciting before, and she says, I wish the goblins would come and take you away right now. And then Toby finally stops crying, and then Toby's disappeared. He's you know, she turns lights on and off again, and like he's gone. And then this barn owl that we see before. So like, okay, also we gotta start the opening scene of the movie where. What's the David Bowie song that's playing? Because David Bowie is the Goblin King, Jareth, and he he wrote like 5 songs to this movie, and
yep. So the opening song is called Underground,
and
it's kind of this, it's kind of a upbeat like 70s style rock song.
And so as that song is playing, we see this barn owl, a CGI, just like flying in and out over like the the blue title cards. It's kind of like, oh god, like I remember like this viewing being just like, oh, I forgot there was computer effects in this. But I guess like at the time, like that was such a novel idea that like it wasn't so like ubiquitous that like you're just like, oh fuck, CGI. You're like, oh cool, this is something different. And like this movie is not like drenched in this kind of visual effect, so like it's not bad. But it kind of becomes a bit of a shock. But
I read one thing that credited this as the first fully computer generated effect shot. But I don't know if that's quite true. But this would have been made 84, 85, released in 86. We're a few years away from Terminator 2 with like those hyper realistic CGI shots, right? So it is kind of jarring as we sit here in 2026 back 40 years ago, but at the time like this was like kind of incredible. It's quite obviously not a real owl, but it's hard to put yourself in that position of, okay, if you were looking at this for the first time, would this be the most amazing computer effect you had ever seen to this point? And quite possibly, yeah, it was. But it does kind of give the vibe of like Windows 96 screensaver.
Oh yeah, like I think it might be the first like animal like object thing created in fully in CG, because I know the first fully CG scene is in Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, 1982, when they're doing the Genesis device. They have an entire computer scene generated of like, here's what would happen if you launch this device against like a barren moon kind of thing. But
you're right. It's the first CGI animal shot. That's right.
Okay, yeah. So like, yeah, but so yeah, it is something that you haven't really seen before, and now like even like the Spielberg trailer, like, the only bad looking part of that Disclosure Day trailer is these animal shots. Like, yeah,
we're not that far in 40 years later. Yeah.
Like, you have your avatars and stuff where the, fake animals look, like, invented animals look really, really cool, but, like, there's a lot of, bad animal CGI nowadays, which, like, I kind of get the people wanting to do that because, like, it's, apparently animals are very difficult to work with on set. Also, like, there's, like, back in, like, the Western days where how many horses would they just kill for a Western? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Might be better just to, instead of, like, torturing an owl, just have a CGI owl for the sake of, animal ethics. I don't know. Fuck those animals. I want to see a real thing on the screen.
So in Neverending Story, they kept killing the horses, so they just wrote it into the script. So that's why 20 minutes in, there's the most horrifying scene in 80s family film history. It's just a horse committing suicide.
Such a downer scene.
Thankfully, no animals intentionally kill themselves in Labyrinth.
Yeah. Yeah,
maybe unfortunately, maybe that would be that's the sort of slice of life that Sarah needs to account for. She's going to have animals killing themselves when she hits adulthood.
So it turns out this barn owl is actually Jareth the Goblin King in disguise, and so this owl transforms into David Bowie, and Bowie says like, yeah, I've taken the baby just like you asked, and he offers her this crystal, so it's just like a white, clear sphere, and says like, I'll reveal to you all your dreams if you just want to as long as you forget your brother. And
forget about the baby.
Yeah. She declines because she completely regrets, like, telling a goblin to take the baby away. And so they're like, okay, fine. You have 13 hours to come to my labyrinth and get your baby back, or the baby will become one of us forever. Like, he's going to turn this baby into a goblin. And we've seen some of the goblins already, because Ashley's saying this chant for her book. There's a bunch of goblins just like waiting in the closet, like, come on, say the line, say the line.
Yeah, they keep cutting away to this insert shot, which is the first time we see the goblins, and we're like, whoa, like. If you were just watching this movie and had never seen a trailer, and so we're like maybe 10 minutes in, and we're starting to see like, oh, there's like, this is a puppet movie. There's these crazy puppets, and as the room to the window, or the window to the room is blown open, and the owl, this really bad CGI owl or maybe owl puppet is like flying around the room. We're seeing out of focus goblin puppets kind of pop up in the background, and as they pop up, you'll see her kind of like Jennifer Connelly will kind of like spin around and try to see them, and then they'll duck out of sight. And it's kind of I think that's just such a cool. It's almost like the Mary Poppins like nursery cleanup scene where there's just like things popping up in the background and like you kind of can't even like keep your eye on all the different sort of CG or special effects magic that's going on. And as sort of the introduction of these goblins as not just like they're physical like real creatures that are now in her world, and there's this sort of melding of the two, of the real world and her fantasy world in this moment. And I think that's just such a cool, this is where we first see those puppet effects, and we're like, okay, this is what we're gearing up for the next hour and a half.
And also, when the goblins are talking, it's the first moment of true like levity and humor in the movie. And like,
yeah,
because Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie don't have much comedy in their deliveries or their actions. It's usually the puppets that have like all the comedy, and even like the dastardly goblins that you're not supposed to like very much, they are funny and charming.
They're very much like the Greek chorus to the movie, and throughout Sarah's travels deeper into the labyrinth, we'll get these cutaway shots to David Bowie in his lair with the goblins, and they're using kind of a Wizard of Oz. They're using the crystal ball to see where Sarah is in her quest, and they're kind of doing their John Madden play-by-play coverage the entire time, like, whoa, she shouldn't have made it to the oubliette. Bam.
They usually get like Troy Aikman and Joe Buck to do play-by-play for like more fantasy movies now. Like, imagine how much better the Minecraft movie would have been if like if Troy Aikman was narrating it.
Joe, we have the chicken jockey moving up the middle, running the post route. Joe, if they don't stop that, it's going to be a short game.
Yeah, God.
But we do. I think in some of the making of, they say, or some of the lore about the making of this film is, as it was originally written, Terry Jones had sort of didn't want to show what the goblin lair looked like until the very end of the movie. He kind of wanted it to be sort of this Marlon Brando Apocalypse Now, like you kind of build up this image of what the heart of darkness of this fantasy world is. And then you finally get to see it at the end. But when you got David Bowie, you don't want to just use him as sort of like the framing narrative where he shows up at the beginning, gives the quest, and then waits till the end. So that's why they have all these cut-in shots and often musical sequences as well of just David Bowie dancing with a bunch of puppets and the baby, which is maybe the most memorable scene in the film.
That was the one I saw. I saw that scene online before I even saw the movie, the Magic Dance song with all the puppets there. And like there's like all the goblins like in his court there's all kinds of dozens of puppets all over the place, and David Bowie like throwing a baby up in the air and stuff, like, and
a lot of live poultry. It does give the effect of like a Eastern European, like maybe like just immediately post-Soviet bloc. It is kind of like, maybe it's like Latvia or Romania. And in fact, a lot of the goblins kind of have this weird Eastern European accent. Like they're like, come on, we got to get it. There she is. And sorry, go on.
What rules like all the voice, like it's all like, a lot of these voices are like from like Muppet performers you've seen in other stuff too. Like Frank Oz is here, and
Elmo's doing some voices.
Yeah, like this is the first
Flash.
This is like the first the Elmo puppeteer. This is his first time puppeteering. Like that's pretty awesome.
We knew right away. He was like the LeBron of puppeting. We knew.
Yeah. Wasn't he the one that was like dating someone who's a teenager?
Well, you know what? This movie's got a lot of that. So
yeah.
sometimes art imitates life, and sometimes it's the other way around.
Yeah.
But so Bowie is a complete Lothario. Like you're right. There isn't a lot of comedic rapport between Sarah and Jareth the Goblin King, but there is a lot of sort of indescribable. Like not quite sexual tension, but like weird romantic tension of just like, clearly he is this fantastical object of desire, but right from the get-go, as soon as he shows up, she's like, it's not that I don't appreciate what you're doing for me, but I think I just like to have my brother back. Like he shows up and he's got this cod piece on the whole time, this giant sort of prosthetic bulge, and he's kind of strutting around in tights the whole time with this blown out Rod Stewart hairdo. Looking like a Japanese manga villain, but it's this delicate balance where it's not quite sexual, but clearly it's hard to tell whether he's kind of in this predatory mode or whether he is like a manifestation of her fantasy, and like that's kind of what she thinks that she wants.
Like Brian Froud was like he's the guy who like did all like the concept designs for the movie. And basically, they got the idea for Labyrinth from some sketches he was working on when he was making The Dark Crystal. He said like that Jareth is like part of it's based off of like Heathcliff and Wuthering Heights and Rochester and Jane Eyre. And those are both ones that books are very popular with, you know, young teenage girls as well. With like those are considered like people find those books are very romantic and sweeping. So even just taking reference to those books, so you can see that this is someone that like, you know, you can see a teenage girl being attracted to someone mysterious and aloof. Like, yeah, so there is like, you know, it doesn't seem like it sounds like when he's like kind of like, oh, like, we gotta make you my queen. It's like almost of like a female fantasy rather than as something as totally the male control. Like she seems into it. I don't know. It's kind of a thorny thing in the movie, but it does make it seem like, you know, it puts it all into the headspace of this girl who's kind of stuck between being a child and being a woman. Mm-hmm. Whereas this is going to be something that she experiences as a woman in the real world. There's going to be men like this,
right? And like, let's be clear, they cast David Bowie for a reason, and David Bowie is this sort of unambiguously like this sexual creature, this like weird, like androgynous, masculine, feminine, like everything all at once. Mm-hmm. You know, he's this massive celebrity. This movie's coming out in '86, and when he's first kind of courted by Henson for this movie, it's 1983, which is the height of maybe not his like critical, like artistic height, but maybe his popular height, because this is after Just Dance. Just Dance came out in '83. You know, it's his poppiest. It's kind of his poppiest era, where he's kind of making music that's showing up on, you know, the nascent MTV, and he's kind of redefining himself as an '80s cultural figure after hitting such critical heights in the '70s. So he's bringing with him all this baggage, where, you know, they were quite intentional about wanting someone of this stature, and there was a few other names that Henson threw out as kind of celebrities of this stature and of this moment that could have kind of played this instantly magnetic, charismatic, mysterious, sensual kind of character. I know Michael Jackson and Sting were also in the conversation.
Mick Jagger was there.
Mick Jagger. Yeah. And also Woody Allen.
Come here, Sarah.
Sarah, I'm exhausted of living up to your expectations. Yeah.
You want to hear some jazz clarinet, Sarah?
The Goblin City. The Goblin City pulsated to the music of George Gershwin.
I also think this movie would have had a very sinister tone if Michael Jackson was playing Jared.
Yeah, it might have been put in the buried pile if this had been MJ. Mm-hmm. But maybe it would have made a zillion dollars too. So
yeah, he might have been the box office draw that's needed. Like, I think Sting could have done as well. Like, looking at his Dune performance, I think Dune was 2 years prior. Like, he could have done he would have had the look for it. But Bowie is just, like, another reason why this movie endures is because of the fascination behind David Bowie. And, you know, this movie, when David Bowie died, the movie had its 30th anniversary too, so there's a lot of retrospectives on David Bowie's film career. And how interesting it was, including talking about Labyrinth a lot.
Yeah, so Bowie goes away after that initial sort of appearance where he meets Sarah and gives her quest. She's got 13 hours to get to the center of the maze. Now, all of a sudden, pretty seamlessly, the movie moves from Sarah's bedroom to this fantasy world. And at this point, we're basically now just in a studio in England for the next hour and a half. Because everything is built on set. I don't think there's really anything that's built in, like, open air.
No. A lot of matte paintings to, like, illustrate some depth to make it seem like it's a lot bigger of a space than it is.
And I think I read something that it was one of the largest matte backgrounds ever used or something like that.
I could see it. It's massive.
Yeah, and it does look beautiful. Like, when she first sees this massive panorama of the Labyrinth, it looks spectacular, and they use a combination of close-up shots with them, and then they kind of cut to the matte painting, and it doesn't. You can tell if you look closely that it is a painting and it's a static image, but they do zhuzh it up a bit, and it does feel like you have very seamlessly now stepped into this world, and then you stop questioning. Okay, wait, how did she get here? Wait, what's happening now? Mm-hmm. She kind of just rolls with everything anyway. She's like pretty like not bothered by the fact that she's just kind of like, oh, I appreciate what you're doing, but okay, I guess I got to go get my brother now.
Like,
and then we're off.
I'd be screaming like every time. Like she runs to a Hoggle first, which is we talked about Hoggle as like being the one with the animatronic radio controlled head. And what's really cool, but if I saw something like Hoggle, I'd be like vomiting. Like I'd be like screaming in disgust if I saw something like that in person.
Well, especially the first time we meet him, he's taking a piss. Literally, he's taking a piss directly into a pond. And then Sarah surprises him. He does his pants back up, and then he immediately starts to use like his pesticide sprayer and starts spraying fairies. And I think that also kind of gives us that is sort of this is the kind of most for me the Princess Bride kind of thing of like it kind of takes the piss out of fairy tales a little bit. And there's an overt line, and Hoggle says, "Well, what do you expect fairies to do? They're nasty little creatures. They're not nice storybook creatures." And that's why he's gassing these little Tinkerbells.
And then one of them bites Sarah. Like she's like, "Oh, it's such a nice little fairy," though, and just bites her in the finger.
Yeah, and this guy's like he's a misanthropic. I guess he's not a goblin, but he's like something else. He's kind of like a hobbit.
I know there's like a lot of there's been a couple like comic series based off of Labyrinth. I have not dived into that at all, so like I'm not sure like if they specify like, oh, like this guy is like this species. This guy's like a halfling hobbit or something.
No, I never got into any of that stuff. I know there's like a 4-part like kind of Japanese style prequel or something. Yeah, no, I'm not that deep into the lore beyond the movie. But Hoggle becomes the main sort of companion to Sarah, except literally at every single turn he tries to screw her over, while also kind of harboring his own sort of romance toward her.
Yeah, he's kind of thinks like, oh, like she's pretty and stuff. So like he's kind of like into her, and like, but, like he offers like reluctantly to kind of be her guide, and like she does not know where to go. She's completely kind of like, do I go left or do I go right? And she's like, oh, you got to go this way, kind of thing. And she's like, well, why would you go that way?
Right, and this is the first time a woman's ever been nice to Hoggle, so he's immediately becoming a pervert about it. He doesn't care that she's a teenager.
Hoggle's gonna go back home to the bar like after the night. Like, hey guys, I got myself a girlfriend now.
Yeah, my girlfriend from Canada. She's like, oh sure, but Hoggle is it's interesting. We get a few shots throughout the movie that are explicitly from Hoggle's point of view. So as much of as this movie and the whole kind of plot construct is Sarah's fantasy, Hoggle also has his own kind of autonomy within her fantasy, where he has this moral conundrum of whether he can, I guess, make friends, whether he can trust other people, is kind of the B plot of this movie. So Hoggle is as much as he is a figment of her dream, he is also a sentient being, and also sort of incel adjacent. So this really is a movie about incels.
Yeah, so like they keep going down this like long corridor, and she runs into the Hoggle eventually leaves her for a bit, so she's in the labyrinth just by herself, and she runs into a worm who lives in the crack. He lives in the crack in the wall. And this worm looks so cool. Like it's such a cool little puppet design. It's small. And it's just like look it's like hello. Do you say hello? It's like no. Yeah.
And so the worms keep saying, why did you come? Forget your quest. Come inside, have some tea, meet the missus. And he's the cutest little guy. He's a blue worm, and he's wearing a scarf, a nice red scarf. And which begs the question, what is the textile industry like in the Labyrinth? Who is producing these miniature scarves? I don't know if you thought much about that.
See, the thing is, I do, and that's why a lot of these fantasy worlds kind of just like don't make much sense to me, because it's just like, well, like, where do they eat? Where do they live and stuff? And like, I think like, how does Labyrinth come into place? How does Goblin come into place? And like, I think like, I don't know, with something like science fiction, I was like, oh yeah, like, it's in the future, they figure this out, like, there's something different going on. But like, fantasy, I often think like, how did this specific world get constructed? Like, what is the history behind this? And like, not that I would want Labyrinth to explain itself more, because I think Labyrinth is good being kind of a bit of a mystery. But I often, like, in my mind, like, when I watch Wizard of Oz, think of, like, I wonder if the Tin Man was the former guard of the wizard, of, like, the academy there, and I wonder if the Scarecrow is, like, their best friend in a previous life or something.
So you're really you want the Wicked treatment for the Labyrinth. You want overly long, kind of boring musical prequel adaptation where every single element is explained in painstaking detail.
Yeah, I want that. And I think Labyrinth looks too good, so I want to do the Wicked thing where it looks like you're watching someone shoot a film with feces on the lens.
Yeah.
I want it to be a 2-part musical where you can't see the lead actress's face when she's singing Defying Gravity because they don't know how to light a film.
I think that all makes a lot of sense to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. And then split into 2, you have Labyrinth, and then you have Labyrinth for Good.
Labyrinth for Good, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you want to call it Labyrinth the conclusion, just in case they want to make more Labyrinth musical sequels down the line.
I think that's a safe bet that this is going to become a 10-film prequel series, with decreasingly, increasingly obscure songs that no one likes.
Yeah.
All the songs that were cut from the original, now we've got them back in.
Yeah. And we're gonna have a couple
spread this thin.
We're gonna have a couple songs made for the movie for the sake of it being nominated for Oscars. So Hoggle has his little song about being the goblin in the bubble.
Yeah, we've got the song about the worm textile industry and where they get their scarves. And how the economy.
Their labor is being exploited by the Goblin King itself. So there's kind of a bit of a fascist uprising against all the creatures there.
It really is a commentary on post-Soviet Union Eastern Europe.
Yeah, really makes you think.
It does.
Yeah.
So she quickly learns though that not all is what it seems in the labyrinth, and this supposedly infinite corridor, this outer ring of the labyrinth that she can't seem to get in. In fact, there's a hidden wall that she can. It's a camera trick. It's an in-camera trick where she realizes that there's an opening that she couldn't see before, and we as the audience in turn couldn't see either. But all of a sudden, it is a really cool shot, and it's all of a sudden she says, "Well, there's no opening there." It's like, "No, try it. Go step forward." And she walks in. She's like, "Hey, it is there." And the worm's got a great line read. He goes, "Don't go that way. Never go that way." She goes, "Oh, thanks." And as she walks away, he goes, "If she'd have gone that way, she would have gone straight to that castle."
The worm is
even that. Sorry.
I just love the worm so much. It's such a fun. It doesn't really come back much. It's just such a good a little bit part, which is just such a fun little touch for this movie.
It's literally 45 seconds of the movie, and he's one of the MVPs. Just very nice little British worm.
Yeah. So she's now another a bit of a maze part of the labyrinth, and she's kind of confused where to go. So what she does is she kind of takes her lipstick and marks an arrow, and this is the direction I went. So in case she gets lost, she knows where to go.
Her lipstick being a metaphor for womanhood?
Maybe.
I always wondered about that. She's using it incorrectly. She's not using it as a beauty product, which as a young woman, that's what she's expected to do. She's still using it as this tool for her adventure. So this is she is punished for not being womanly enough by the labyrinth. Basically, every time she writes with the lipstick on a tile of stone, a little creature comes out and turns the stone clockwise to mess up her directions. And if you listen closely, all of the little guys basically sound like the French guy on the castle in Holy Grail. They're all going, "Your mother smells like elderberry." Like they kind of got this little your mother is an aardvark. And you'll see a lot of the creatures here. That's where I think you see the Terry Jones influence the most, because every time you come across one of these little kind of guides, these either a test or a guide of how she should proceed in the maze, they're always these kind of wisecracking British comedy. Almost each one is usually paired with another creature, and they're sort of bickering or bantering. And they're sort of lamenting their role as being signposts in the maze for this teenage girl. And all the dialogue feels very Monty Python to me.
Yeah, that's why I think where the movie comes really to life is with these creatures talking in that way. And I think that just the lack of I think the fact that the Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie are playing the straight people in this movie who are just not the one, the jokes are bouncing off of them. Yeah, I think it's an interesting way to do it because, despite it being a film that has David Bowie as the marquee actor, it's still the puppets are what you're here to see, and the fact that the puppets are the ones that bring humor to this movie. I think it's necessary because I don't think the movie's too lively without it. But I wonder for me I think it's a good balance, but like, I'm not sure if they could have balanced it a bit more to be a bit more funnier. Like I keep thinking the Muppets sound like the Muppets are just outright hilarious all the time. But like this is far funnier than The Dark Crystal, which is a movie I'm not that into at all.
I really don't like The Dark Crystal.
Yeah,
I especially hate the voice acting. It's very
Scowfling.
Master. It's all very. I don't know.
That guy's such a wiener. I hate him.
God, isn't that the main character? Yeah.
Yeah, the faces
They look ugly. You don't want to root for them. You kind of hope they get wiped out.
Yeah.
In this one, you are rooting for Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're kind of rooting for her to get back home and everything. You're not rooting for David Bowie to do whatever weird thing with the baby or whatever weird thing with her.
Unclear what his aim is with the baby. Unclear.
Is it supposed to be that like the baby will replace him or something? Or like Bowie said behind the scenes, he doesn't really want to be there. He's kind of looking for. He didn't want this responsibility. Like, is that what it is? Is like the baby going to replace him, or is it just how he gets more goblins? Because does he really want more goblins?
Or is it just really it's the bait to try to lure Sarah?
Yeah.
And because it's just kind of like, well, forget about the baby, be my concubine or something. I don't know. Again, unclear.
Yeah.
But anyway, so as Sarah proceeds with her quest, we get what I think is a really excellent set piece with the helping hands. What'd you think of this sequence?
I think it's good. I think it's kind of like slows. I think it kind of slows down the pace a little bit. Where she's given a riddle, right? By these hands are kind of like there's like a shield, like an emblem or shield on the wall, and like these guys, the Muppets are like behind them, and they're giving riddles to like
It's the classic. One of us always tells the truth, and one of us always lies, and There's these four guys, and they all look like Billy Connolly, and they're like none of them are even sure. The way they say the riddle is so confusing that they don't even understand. They say, to be honest, we don't even understand it.
Yeah.
So she thinks she's solved the riddle, and she walks through the door. The door she thinks is the pathway to the center of the labyrinth, and she immediately falls down a chute and is caught by hundreds of pairs of grimy, kind of warty green hands.
I love this part.
As she falls down this like dark chute. So these are the helping hands, and they're creating the hands themselves. Kind of create these faces with like 3 or 4 pairs of hands will come together and create these faces that can talk to her. And they're sort of saying, well, which way do you want to go? Do you want to go up? Do you want to go down? And she says, well, I guess I'm already headed down. And then quite quickly the hands are like, tricked ya. She chose down.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait, was that the wrong choice? And they're like, screw you, lady. And they drop her down into this black pit.
Sorry, keep going.
But yeah, again, just this very literal manifestation of like hundreds of creepy male hands that are like groping her as she falls down this dark pit.
Yeah. And they're chatty too. Like
they're very chatty. Yeah, it's like being in the green room at a open mic stand-up comedy night. If you're the one female comedian. Yeah. So they drop her into the pit, the oubliette, which as someone who took French up to grade 10, I can tell you, oubliette is where you forget about people. And it's interesting. It's kind of like choose your own adventure when you find a dead end early in the choose your own adventure quest, and then you're just like, crap, I guess that's the end of the movie, except we're only 30 minutes in and she's now stuck in this black hole.
Yeah.
Which is when we get Hoggle back into the picture, because Hoggle, he disappears and he shows up like 4 or 5 times in this movie because he's doing this Hamlet thing of will I help her, will I lead her astray, can I be a friend, am I worthy of having friends? So he helps her out, and he said, okay, you come with me, and he creates this secret passage in the back of this seemingly dead end hole, and that's where we run into David Bowie again, and he basically tries to murder Sarah and Hoggle. He sets a giant lawnmower on our 2 heroes to try to shred them to paste.
It's supposed to be the cleaner of these kind of like dungeon hallways, which is really funny, is because it is just like a giant drill coming towards them.
And it is maybe for the first time you do get a sense of like, oh, like maybe Sarah can die in this world. Maybe there are some stakes here, because it takes our 2 heroes basically like throwing themselves into a brick wall until it breaks to survive being absolutely murdered.
What helps with the peril too is because it is like Jennifer Connelly actually like running away from like something being puppeted, being pushed towards them. So it is something that, like, it's real to her because it's not just, like, you know, she's looking back, pretending she's seeing something that's, like, being, like, that's in a different shot entirely.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's light terror. This is where, like, you know, the whole movie is pretty jokey. But this is one of those moments where, like, you know, maybe a 6-year-old might find this a little frightening, as it looks like our heroes are about to be slashed to bits.
I think it's okay to scare 6-year-olds. Absolutely. I think that too many movies beat. You know, the kids, like, you know, the era we grew up with Disney movies, like, those movies all have frightening scenes in them. And, like, you know, we grew up the age where Jurassic Park was massive, and, like, kids love that because kids love being scared by, like, dinosaurs and such. Like,
yeah. Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's a whole movie about genocide.
Yeah, and being horny for a Romani woman.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's kind of the inverse of this movie.
Yeah.
Where Eastern European goblins are harassing a young woman. Yeah. So Sarah and Hoggle emerge. Everything in this movie is Deus Ex Machina, is just the hand of God at every turn. So they climb out of the hole, and they realize they're kind of getting close. They've now been sidetracked, and they're back towards the start of the maze. And Sarah, after meeting sort of a wise prophet-type figure, she comes to the conclusion that sometimes, like, the maze isn't fair, and sometimes life isn't fair. So she's starting, that veil of innocence is starting to be pierced, and she's realizing that life can suck a lot, and that is one of the main morals of this story, is that adult life sucks, but you have to become an adult. You can't enjoy life past the age of 16.
Life is unfair, from the theme song from Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah. And speaking of, was it Once We're Giants, We Were Giants?
They might be giants.
They might be giants. Indeed, they might. We meet, at this point, we hear this roar in the labyrinth, and Hoggle, for the second time, or I guess the third time, third time, he runs away because he's a scaredy cat and he doesn't really care about his friends. He's self-interested.
She should put a leash on him. Come on, like, you're a bad dog owner if, like, keeps running away on you.
Yeah, at some point it reflects her stewardship of this gang of adventurers. But she hears this loud booming sound, and it's a Yeti-like character has been caught by what seems like a platoon of goblin knights that are harassing him. Their weapon is they each have a long stick with a kind of a little creature on the end with big sharp teeth, and they're using this as their weapon to torture this giant Yeti type creature. And this is maybe one of the most overt kind of George Lucas touches in the movie. Because this is basically like if a Wampa and a Tauntaun mated. It's very like, it's like Chewbacca Jason is a giant woolly tusked creature who looks like the most fearsome beast we've seen so far. And of course he's a friendly giant.
So yeah, I do think this definitely has DNA of Wampa and Tauntaun in it. But do you think it's literal DNA? Do you think that Wampa and Tauntaun did fuck to make a Ludo?
I think we can safely say that this is part of the greater Star Wars canon. Absolutely. And we can also say with authority that Sarah's shopping at the same vest store as Han. But so what we start to realize is, okay, not only is Sarah going to proceed to the middle of the maze, but she's also going to rally this band of misfit helpers who are going to assist her in her quest. So we've already got Hoggle, and now we have Ludo, the semi-literate bastard child of every Star Wars character. And Ludo has the special power.
Ludo? Oh,
sorry, go on.
What's cool about Ludo is that, like, it is like a huge costume that's like that someone's under. It's like 75 pounds or something. So they actually, two different performers, like, interchangeably take breaks and stuff to, like, play Ludo. It's such like a it's such a cool little creation where, like, you just have, like, something absolutely massive, and it's a guy. It's a guy moving around. Yeah, I love the look of Ludo so much. I think Ludo's annoying, but
what?
He's annoying.
Oh my god, he's annoying. So Ludo is, again, he's semi-literate. He's functioning at a much lower level than even humanoid like Hoggle. He kind of talks like help me out here, Brian. Yeah, monosyllabic. That's what I was trying to say. He's doing a lot of Ludo, friend. Yeah. He's doing a lot of that. And Sarah is like, yeah, I'll be your friend. Of course, you're just a gentle giant. But for some reason, he's not just a gentle giant, but he's also a force user. Because Ludo can control rocks. He can speak to the rocks, and they do his beckoning. Or unclear if the rocks themselves are sentient, or he's just using his kind of telekinetic powers, because he is able to summon the very rocks of the earth to do his bidding.
It is kind of like a simple power. It's a fun. They use the power pretty effectively throughout the movie, but like it's kind of just like really rock magic. That's what you got going, Ludo.
It's the only power in the movie stronger than friendship. But it works. It works. Yeah. So we've got Ludo and Sarah ganging up, and while Hoggle is running away in terror, he runs into Jareth, the Goblin King, who says, I thought you said you were leading her back to the beginning of the maze. Why is Sarah making progress? And Hoggle does his very obvious lie of, I was helping her back to the beginning. I was just leading her back. Yes. And to help him in his quest, David Bowie, Jareth, gives Hoggle basically a date rape peach. Mm-hmm. He gives a poison peach that is analogous to drugging someone at a bar. Yeah. It is a poison peach that is now in his possession. So Chekhov's peach comes into play. With that conversation done, Hoggle goes and then meets up with the expanding gang of misfits of Sarah and Ludo. So meets up with them for the third time.
I'd be suspicious about Sarah. Come on, Sarah. Like, I know you're still like a kid, but get smart. Like, this Hoggle guy is like, again, put a leash on him. If your kid keeps running away at a Sears when you're shopping, just like, I don't know, put a leash on him.
At a certain point, she's already got a new companion in Ludo. She doesn't need this guy who keeps abandoning her at first opportunity, who now shows up and is acting very, very sketchy. Yeah. But in the meantime, before they meet up, Ludo then gets separated from Sarah, and then Sarah has an extended dance party with a group of poorly green-screened Sesame Street bird puppets called the Fire Gang. And this is the only song that is not... It's written by Bowie, but it's not sung directly by Bowie. This is sung by a group of puppeteers, including the voice of Elmo, which you kind of do hear little hints of Elmo at times. Yeah. But it's a jaunty little tune of this psychotic gang of weird bird dog creatures who get their rocks off by taking each other's heads and playing basketball with them.
Terry Jones and the behind the scenes had like an absolute delight describing this scene. It's like, oh, it's like, they're so amped up. They're so like, like he's so animated describing what they're doing and stuff, and how just like this is just making her like she's in this world that's just so like stretched out and bizarre, and now this is the most flabbergasted she gets in the movies, seeing these creatures that are just like unlike anything else she sees. And yeah, there's some cool puppeteering going on because they are taking off their heads and stuff, but the heads are still like moving around. Like it's some interesting interesting filmmaking techniques to do it. The song kind of sucks.
Really? I like the song, but I like all the songs in this movie. But it is the most kind of irrelevant to the plot. Yeah. These guys are just pure chaos, and it's not even that they're like that malignant. Like I don't think they even realize that they're basically threatening to like decapitate this young girl. They don't even realize that her head doesn't come off like their head comes off. So she's getting pissed off because these things are harassing her. Not like basically every single creature in this world is harassing this young teenager. Yeah. In a way that is
just like real life would happen. Everyone's trying to harass teenage girls.
So they're basically like catcalling her, and she's getting fed up. So she kind of punts one of their heads off into the forest, and that's when they get really ticked off, and they say, "We're going to take off your head!" And they start pulling on her head and her arms. But of course, all of a sudden, there's Hoggle with a ladder, and she literally climbs to safety for the third or fourth time in this movie, thanks to Hoggle, who's back in the picture, and she implicitly trusts him immediately again. This very shady character,
and they're trying to cross over a ledge at the Bog of Eternal Stench, which is a great name, very Princess Bride kind of name.
Yeah,
and like they end up they meet up with Ludo again and is trying to find a way to cross this bog, and the they're introduced to a new friend this time, Sir Didymus, who is a small. He's like a little knight. He's a knight, but he's like part dog.
He's like a foxy kind of dog.
Yeah,
and he's very Don Quixote. He is pure honor and integrity, and he has sworn an oath to not let a single person pass this bridge without his permission. And he's willing to fight even. Sorry,
keep going.
Well, he's basically taken this oath, and he will fight anyone to the death who attempts to cross the bridge without his permission. So there's a cool little sequence that is very much like Wesley and Andre the Giant in Princess Bride, where you've got the puppet of Sir Didymus battling the giant puppet of Ludo, and quite clearly the Sir Didymus is getting his ass kicked, and then so he finally says, "Okay, a draw. It's a tie," and he says, "Well, I still can't let you pass the bridge." And then Sarah says, "Well, can we have your permission to cross the bridge?" And he thinks about it for a very long pause, and he says, "Yes." So that to me is very, it's very Monty Python. It's very like the Black Knight, where it's this like, I will fight to the death, like nothing can faze me, like totally overconfident. One of the best characters, and it's a time in the movie where if you feel like it's starting to drag, this is like a major injection of comedy, because you've got the fast-talking, overconfident Fox Knight, and you've also got the Bog of Eternal Stench, where every single time they like step on a stone or touch a branch, there's a massive fart sound. And so if the kids are starting to lose interest, this will bring them right back in.
And also, Didymus has as a sheepdog. He rides around like a horse. Ambrosius.
Ambrosius, yeah.
And which is a very cute little design, because they have a good puppet for the dog as well as for its rider as well. And when they're trying to cross the bog, they get Ludo to raise some rocks or get some rocks to create a little bridge across the fart bog. And what's really funny is when they're crossing over the stones, it's kind of makes kind of fart noise like a xylophone. It's all like different tones.
Yeah, it's the musical fruit of bog crossing. So at this point we have our gang. The gang is all here. We've got Hoggle, Ludo, Sir Didymus, and Ambrosius. And at this point, we have the final party. So this is very much like a Final Fantasy type game, where we have our party. And at this point, Sarah very serendipitously says, "Wow, I'm starting to get really hungry." At which point, Hoggle says, "Oh, I've got a date rape peach. I mean, totally normal peach, I should say." She goes, "Oh, thank you. How convenient, and not at all something I should be skeptical of, given the way you've acted the entire time I've known you." So she takes a bite and immediately realizes something's wrong, which causes Hoggle to say, "Peace, I'm out of here again for the 5th time, because I've betrayed the only person who was ever nice to me by giving her like Rohypnol," which triggers though one of the standout sort of scenes of the movie.
Yeah, because like she's like, as she's fully unconscious, she sees some of Jareth's like crystals, and so she's drawn towards it, and she enters this like a masquerade ball, and it's like very extravagant. It's all kinds of humans this time in like masquerade outfits, and the masks look like goblins that we've seen before already. And she kind of looks like she's kind of like stumbling a little bit herself. She has a big gown on. She's kind of like, she's clearly never been in a situation like this before. And there's a Bowie song being sung, and like she's kind of being like enchanted by Jareth, and starts dancing with him. And I think it's a incredibly well put together. I think it's the best scene in the movie. You get some love and trepidation from her. She's kind of confused what's going on. There's some passion there. Again, we're talking about a relationship, like a very big age gap thing, but there is some passion, there's some interest there, and it's shot so well. What's also cool about this movie too is that the choreographer for this film is Cheryl McFadden. People know her as Gates McFadden. She plays Beverly Crusher in Star Trek: The Next Generation. And she was actually hired to be she's hired to do the choreography and play the stepmom, but with union rules she had to do one or the other, so she did the choreography instead. But
sorry,
But it's really fun watching the behind the scenes stuff and seeing like Beverly Crusher like kind of like organize a bunch of like goblins in different scenes and like, you know, how to march up and down like the street and stuff.
But they also they cut a key scene that was leading up to this where she meets before they go to the masked costume ball, she meets Nick the piano player, where he gives her the passcode Fidelio. And this was Kubrick stole all of this for Eyes Wide Shut. Mm-hmm. So she ends up at an Eyes Wide Shut party. But at the start, it seems like we get her point of view and we kind of see her tracking. She's looking at Jareth, this David Bowie character, the entire time. He's the only person at this costume party who is instantly recognizable because of his huge, crazy hair.
He looks like an anime villain.
His huge, like, blown out platinum wig. But we have it at first. She's tracking him, and everyone's kind of in this waltz-like movement around the room. She's tracking him. They finally start dancing together, and then all of a sudden, she becomes the subject, and she realizes that everyone in the room has kind of circled them, and they're kind of gawking at her. And and there's this kind of flip where her kind of teenage romantic fantasy of this mysterious man has kind of flipped, and now she's become this point of derision. It's like the other people at the party are kind of like mocking her, laughing at her, ridiculing her. So she freaks out. She starts to sense that something has shifted, and she tries to escape. She realizes she's in this kind of dream within a dream, and she takes a chair and she kind of shatters the looking glass of this crystal ball. And it returns her back to a
junkyard.
The first level of the dream, back to the world of the Labyrinth. And she drops into an old junkyard where she meets a helpful, obviously quite sinister old crone puppet.
Yeah, this woman, like, she looks like an NPC in a Dark Souls game. She looks like a merchant in one of those games. Like, she's like has this giant backpack or sack on her back that is just like so much bigger than hers, with all kinds of other like objects and like loot on her. She's a very like cynical woman too. Like she seems like, you know, sounds like an old crone, like a traditional old crone. And she takes Sarah to like what appears to be her bedroom. And Sarah's like, "Oh, finally I'm home and everything." So she's all happy. And he's like, "Oh wait, fuck, that baby I abandoned." And then as she remembers the point of the quest was to save baby Toby, the room just kind of falls apart around her, which is a really cool shot of like, you know, this stuff peeling back. And she was like, no, you're right. It was a dream within a dream.
Yeah, which is cool because it comes late enough in the movie that if you're not really paying attention to like the timestamps, you kind of are like, wait, is that the end of the movie somehow? Like,
yeah, because it is an extravagant scene beforehand, and like, could that just be the emotional climax? I don't know. Nothing else is real. You know, then it's like, oh wait, the baby's the one missing ingredient here, and then it's like, all right, I've got to finish the rest of the movie and get the baby back.
The old crone is she's doing this thing where she's loading her up with all this childhood junk. It's all like, you want your pencil crayons? You love your pencil crayons? Oh, have teddy bear. Oh, you love Mr. Teddy Bear, don't you? She kind of has this like she looks like a crone, but she sounds like she's from kind of like Cape Breton. It's like, oh, darn tootin', you want some of that, don't you? Oh, you love Mr. Flopsy, don't you? Oh, you love Mr. Flopsy. Oh, you can't go anywhere without your beautiful necklace. Off your necklace. And then Sarah has that line reading where she's like, this is all junk. And as soon as she says that, that's where the room disintegrates, and all in practical effects. It's just such a cool little false ending, and then just kind of immediately sparks you right back. It kind of gives you this jolt, and then all of a sudden, again, the hand of God comes in, and her traveling party, pulls her from the rubbish, and now they're all united again.
And like what I love about the all the objects in her room too, like all this is junk, is that like the movie starts off, her adventure starts off with her like reciting some fantasy lines from fantasy books that she's read in the past, and she gets pissed off at her baby brother because he has her teddy bear. And so like even just this time she's completely grown, and it's like, oh shit, like this is I've grown as a person. I'm not, some things matter more than my stuff.
Yeah. So there's these series of realizations throughout this movie where she realizes life's not fair. All this childhood stuff is junk compared to the trials and tribulations of adulthood, and like here's what really matters in life, and you can't be an incel, and being a drama kid makes you a loser. These are all really important things that the movie continually reinforces.
Don't audition for the school production of Wicked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Stay away
join the cheerleader team.
from bad spin-offs.
Yeah.
So we kind of yada yada there. The plot yada yadas as it does at several points, and all of a sudden we're at the gates to the Goblin City with the whole party there, and they're storming the castle. Where we get an excellent extended, maybe 10-minute battle sequence where the goblins are defending the siege.
And we get the giant robot.
We get a giant robot. We get a giant mech suit. We got a goblin mech.
Which is such a cool idea. And yeah, it's like, it's taking swipes at it as like a giant axe, and like Jennifer Connelly is like barely dodging the attacks. And so like the robot's kind of stopped, and then Hoggle comes up from above, and he's like, actually wants to help out this time because he
goes kamikaze. He's like, if I die, I die.
Yeah. So he jumps in and like kind of like defeats the pilot of the mech, and like he asks for forgiveness for giving her the date rape peach, and
Sarah is way too forgiving.
Yeah,
way too forgiving.
Like, you betrayed me 5 times this quest already. You saved me once. It's probably another betrayal in the future.
Yeah. So at that point, the tally is, I think, 3 shames on Hoggle, 2 shames on Sarah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fool me 3 times. Those 3 are on you. Twice are on me. Yeah.
But like the actual the robot effects are so damn cool. Like it's a massive kind of animatronic thing, some puppetry going on there too. It's huge. Like, I would have just loved to go to the set of Labyrinth for a day and just walk around and see them, see what they're doing. It's like, the documentary has some cool stuff about it, but like, it's just like, imagine seeing this stuff in person and seeing these people just like work their magic. Like, it's so cool.
Mm-hmm. And the whole set is so expansive that, yeah, like you can tell if you kind of focus on the background, you can tell it's the edge of the studio. You can tell like where the wall is, but it's also, there's so much detail within the little town. Like there's all these little like houses and streets, like all this like this self-contained world. And we get this extended sequence after they've defeated sort of the sub-boss, the sub-boss mech goblin.
Yeah.
Then there's this giant sequence where all of them are fighting the entire goblin army, who is this is where Didymus really gets to shine with his overconfidence. We get several scenes where Didymus is cornered and he says, "Don't worry, Ambrosius, we have them surrounded."
It's such a funny bit, and I love how the goblins are like riding these like tauntaun things around, which like makes it so that you can actually have like, these a lot of like little people to play the goblins, and little people play goblins in this because like they're supposed to be way smaller. But when you have these goblins actually on these mounts like tauntauns, like these bipedal horse things, like you can actually have like a lot more full-size actors. It's a clever way to kind of diversify your cast there, your faceless people.
And eventually, so our gang gets cornered in the top of a turret in the center of town, and it looks like their doom is assured, except of course Ludo uses the Force to summon all the rocks in the surrounding area, and the rocks basically, there's this secondary battle sequence where the rocks are just absolutely destroying all the goblins in comic ways.
There's a part during this scene where, because there's a lot of chickens throughout this movie, there's a part where a rock definitely hits a chicken.
Yeah, chickens were maimed in this movie for sure.
And I like, so the rocks are probably clearly like styrofoam or something like that. Like they're not actual rocks, but like, because the way they bounce. But like, I looked up like, were any animals harmed making this movie? Because that chicken definitely got hit by something.
Yeah, these are not the Muppet chickens. These are live. This is live poultry.
Yeah, Gonzo
just like scattered around the town.
I don't think Gonzo would want to have sex with one of these. Gonzo would have sex with anyone, like any port in a storm for Gonzo, but like I think Gonzo prefers the Muppet ones. Yeah.
In any case, we've now conquered the Goblin army, and Sarah and the gang have gotten to sort of the main antechamber where we've seen Jareth and the goblins dancing and singing throughout the film. And she kind of inexplicably decides, or maybe explicably, because she decides, I should do this last part alone, which makes sense within the context of one of your main party members consistently trying to poison you and abandoning you in your time of need. So she decides, okay, I got to do this alone. They're like, oh, okay, well, should you need us, we'll be here. All right. But she is starting to leave behind these childish imaginary friends, basically, is the way I read it.
Yeah.
And she enters the sort of final challenge room, which is a giant, awesome MC Escher stairway room where there's stairways going in every direction, and the sense of gravity is completely surreal. And she sees Toby, and Toby, she walks into the room and there's
all over the place, like something's upside down
on the ceiling. Yeah.
Like she's afraid his baby's going to completely just fall off and die. And she can't really reach him.
All she can do is kind of whine. She goes, Toby, Toby.
Yeah.
She does that for like a minute.
A lot.
And then we get a final David Bowie song sequence.
Which is a good one. I like this one, and this whole sequence looks so cool. It's cool how to watch how they did this stuff too, where they had they would have horizontal fake David Bowies that they pull around the camera to make it seem like he was walking around on the side. Then she starts reciting. Because at the start of the movie when she's reciting part of her book, she's always some final line she forgets, and then she finally is talking to Jareth, and then she finally remembers the last line from her book, and it's which is you have no power over me. And then Jareth starts crumbling before her eyes.
Yeah, that is the magic. Just as there is this magic spell that causes the goblins to come and steal Toby, there's the magic final line that ends this imaginary curse. Even after David Bowie has given this impassioned just do everything I tell you, and I'll be your slave. He's really turning on the charm offensive at the end there. And so she dispels the spell. She kind of falls back. She falls back. Yeah, he turns into an owl, and she kind of wakes up or comes to consciousness back in the room, and Toby's in the crib. And she realizes, oh, I'm a changed woman now. I'm now primed to just be a mother.
Yeah.
All we hear is we hear the parents come home from their date, but all we really see is Sarah's talking to Toby, and as she is kind of thinking about this dream Alice in Wonderland sequence, she looks in the mirror and she sees Hoggle and Sir Didymus and Ludo are all there just in the reflection, and they're basically saying she's talking to herself, and she's realizing she has to leave her childish things behind. But they say, well, should you need us, we'll always be here for you if you want to be an incel drama kid again. And she kind of... Sorry, go on.
And so then she's like, oh, I do still need you all. And then all the characters, all her companions, plus a bunch of goblins and other monsters she ran into in the labyrinth all appear in her room for a huge party. And everyone's even if people were enemies before, are now hugging each other. It's a cast rap party pretty much for all these puppets. And do you think the parents downstairs what the fuck's going on upstairs? Is someone after a baby and the dad pulls out a handgun or something? I
think they were probably okay, she's distracted. We're gonna work on baby number 2.
Yeah.
But we get this nice. It's very like a DreamWorks movie, circa 2000. It's kind of like the end of Shrek, where there's a giant dance sequence, and then we see, just as it pans out through the window of the bedroom, we see the owl sitting on the tree, and it kind of looks at the camera, and then it flies away. It's almost like... So
Jareth's still a pervert who can creep on her, so that's still a thing.
Yeah, or he was a function of her fantasy, and he kind of served... He really was kind of serving at her need, and was this tool to help her kind of come to terms with who she is as a young woman and moving beyond childhood. Yeah, but that's the movie.
I like that she's she's moved on past her, she realized that her baby brother is more important than her things, but also she still has some of her childhood whimsy. That's always good. She's not going to be maybe when she becomes as an 80s suburban mom, and maybe she'll as her husband's working out, in finance, something like that, like, and, her kids are watching MTV, maybe she's like, oh, she can summon Hoggle again for some fun.
Yeah, and of course, like this, they did make a sequel to this in the early 2000s, Requiem for a Dream, where we see the Jennifer Connelly character come back, and it is, frankly, it is a bit of an inverse of this sort of dreamlike world. It's more of a nightmare, but it is a direct sequel, as we all know. But yeah, like Jennifer.
That's also because Requiem for a Dream is also a movie about how like your items and things are not as important as your experiences. How like sell your mom's TV to buy heroin because that's more important than television.
Yeah, like sell your vintage teddy bears, sell your like fantasy literature collection, and buy drugs. Exactly.
Because drugs can give you taking the right drugs. Well, hell, like that, the date rape Peach gave her a whole like masquerade sequence.
Yeah,
she could go to,
and ultimately that was a positive experience for her, as it's shown in the movie.
Did you know that there was since like the 90s, there's been a Labyrinth themed masquerade in Los Angeles that they host every year?
That checks out.
Yeah, and I went to the website earlier today to see what it's like. So apparently tickets are like $100 to get. It's like a 2-day thing. So apparently tickets are like $100. You have to dress up, but it doesn't have to be specifically Labyrinth themed. It seems like it's expanded to be all kinds of fantasy related stuff too. So you can dress up like a League of Legends character or something, and you'll fit in. But like, yeah, it's been going on since like except for the COVID year, it's been going on since like the 90s, which is like another.
Is it called like the Goblin Ball or something like that?
It's called the Labyrinth Masquerade.
Oh, okay.
Masquerade. Yeah, and and like if you look at the website, it's like that looks nothing like a Labyrinth character, but it started off with like just people doing like the movie Labyrinth, but
yeah,
it's almost like a fan expo thing, but for people just dressing up for a ball. So
for people who are either less perverted or more perverted than the adult characters in the movie.
But yeah, that's like when you talk about the entire Labyrinth. But this is kind of like something like a Labyrinth Masquerade popping up. Is kind of shows like the enduring legacy of the movie. Which like for a movie that bombed in the box office, it's like it's cool that's kind of kept on this way, and like how people are appreciating the effects a lot more. Like I think like people love the puppet effects in back in the 80s as well. But like I think as we move further away from practical filmmaking, I appreciate the stuff far more because it's like you don't know what you've got till it's gone kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's not a lot like this anymore, right? Like, the same reason why like the original Jurassic Park is like untouched. Like you could like, and they've talked for years about doing either a reboot or a sequel or like a sequel reboot of the original Labyrinth, and they've been talking about that as recently as a few years ago. And you just know that Jim Henson's been dead for 35 years or whatever. But they would absolutely use CG way more than the original. I'm sure like they would have to use puppetry because they would have to get the Henson sign off.
There was that Dark Crystal TV show that was on Disney Plus.
Oh, yeah.
I never watched it.
No interest for me.
You can't watch anymore because they removed it for tax purposes.
Well, that shows how much resonance that had. But the issue with that one too is it didn't have any human characters. So like as inhuman as Sarah and Jareth kind of are in this tale, like they still at least are something that you can they're people you can root for. Whereas the pure puppet characters in Dark Crystal, they never resonated with me, and also they look fucking weird.
Yeah.
But
Dark Crystal has its shooters. I think it's going to be an episode in this podcast someday. But yeah, I much prefer Labyrinth to Dark Crystal by far. And I think this is one of the better, despite my gripes with this movie, I think it's still one of the better 80s live action fantasy movies. I think it's because of all the effects work more so than it is the characters or the story per se.
Yeah, there's a thing here where it's like similar to stop motion animation where you just appreciate the craft, and it has a different level than anything you could do with animation or CG or whatever. But this is, there's a reason they don't make movies like this, and it's because it takes an insane amount of work. Yeah. And it took Jim Henson years, and you have to kind of be a psychopath about it to be able to do it on this level.
There's also less jobs in puppetry overall, so you're losing some. There's a big brain drain from this era where puppets were used for Star Wars and stuff. And surely Star Wars now has one puppet that they keep oh, we're doing practical shit all the time in Star Wars now because we have one puppet. But Star Wars used to be a million puppets, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's the knock against a lot of the newer stuff, or the newer Jurassic Park movies, is you lose all the animatronics, and what you're left with is like people looking at like an obvious like CG whatever Gigantosaurus, and you're like, okay, and you're kind of trying to set up the same shot that we saw in '93, except now it's like there's no realness to it. It just feels too we're too far gone.
Yeah, like when in Jurassic World Rebirth, when they try to recreate the moment where like they look up and see the dinosaurs and they have the John Williams music swell. Like the actors have already seen dinosaurs, the characters have already seen dinosaurs already in the movie, and like the way they look up, it's like you're not looking at anything real. Whereas back in Jurassic Park, even if they weren't looking at anything real, there was kind of the care, you're trying to match there's more care for like having to blend the fake and the real and make it more seamless. Like now it's kind of just like, well, like, the audience will get it. Like we don't need to actually match it that much, but it's a lot less care. I think the dinosaurs in the latest Jurassic Park movie looked fine, but like they don't look as, it is not the 30-year leap I was expecting with the first Jurassic Park movie. And the thing about puppets is puppets are timeless. I'm like, if you were to make this exact same movie now, it'd be full of CGI, and or be a specific point not to have CGI, in which you're just doing the same stuff again. They might be able to come up with some like more creative animatronic solutions with like wireless technology, maybe some smaller robots that can create. Yeah, like, I would love for a full puppet movie to pop up again. I hope that did you watch that the Muppet Show revival with Sabrina Carpenter?
No, I didn't.
It's good.
Yeah.
It has the exact same vibe as the original series from the 70s, which is exactly what you want. And I hope that it takes off so to the point where they keep making more Muppet stuff, because I think that I love the Muppets to death. I love like looking at these creatures all the time. I don't like looking at the Dark Crystal creatures because they're hideous, but I don't want to hit them with rocks. But no, like I love puppetry. I think puppetry is really cool in movies, and it's always a delight when you see it pop up. And like I wish it wasn't as rare as it is now.
I think there's so much focus on things being hyper real that we forget that like that idea of kayfabe, right? That wrestling thing of like, look, we all know that these matches are scripted, but there's still something tactile about two people existing in the ring together fighting. And it's the same reason why, like, when you go to the circus and you see the people on the trapeze, like you want there to be you want there to be life in that. You could go and see a completely CGI projection of the circus and it would be completely pointless, because there's nothing human about it. There's no stakes. Yeah. There's no sense of like someone mastering their craft, because you can just edit every single frame to be 100% perfect. Yeah. Like if you go frame by frame through Labyrinth, there's some things that just look completely janky and weird, and even as we said, like Hoggle at the beginning, when you first see him, you're like, this looks like a bad like Chuck E. Cheese animatronic band member. And then within a few scenes of seeing him, you're like, you kind of understand the weight and the way his eyes move, and you just kind of accept that, okay, that is a real character within this world, and you stop thinking about it in terms of him being a puppet. And I think that's the thing where we take away our opportunity to like allow audiences to buy in on that level when we go pure CG.
Yeah, like the Oscars was past Sunday. We're recording this episode pretty early. And so all the visual effects, like Avatar won Best Visual Effects, obviously, because it's a gorgeous looking movie with great CGI. But like, if you look at like all the movies that were nominated, they were doing some interesting like creative things, like with something like The Lost Bus, where to make the fire real, they had made all the trees are made up. They made up like calculations of the wind speed and stuff, and how the fire would work, and how these trees would look when they're on fire. But like, yeah, you're doing a lot of problem solving, but it's still at the end of the day like, having this, we just fixed it, we just did it all in a computer, is a lot less interesting than seeing like the puppet for Hoggle and be like, all right, so the actor's hand is too small, so we built her a bigger hand so that she can move it around, so Hoggle's hands would look proportionally correct to his face. Like, that's far more interesting than like in like the Blender software, we just increase the size of a hand for our CGI creation.
Yeah,
and it looks better. It's way more charming. It's delightful.
And also, they made this movie for $25 million in the 1980s. So whatever that would be now, like $60 million, $70 million. That's like, look at some of the like just generic like action movies that are like not even like fantasy superhero whatever. Like every big movie now costs like $75 million, and you're like, I can't even see where the money is on the screen.
Yeah, the
fact that they were able to do that much with like an army of puppeteers, like so many people were involved in making this movie, and somehow they were able to do it. So what is the thing that we need to do here to keep some of these traditions alive? Because this is far more interesting to me than like Ant-Man 3 or whatever.
Yeah. And also, like, with the rise of AI slop, movies like this seem even more important to celebrate because, like, you know, at least it's like something like a CGI creation that has some human input behind it, but AI has no human input behind it at all other than stealing things. And, like, you'll never be able to AI slop a puppet, so that's one way you can kind of, if we want to avoid AI movies, like, do a puppet movie, because you're not going to be able to do the proper AI with it. And maybe it's one way we can kind of, as a let it throw a wrench into the system is to demand more puppet movies.
Yeah. Like let's do it. Let's get some more stuff like this because what's the risk? Mm-hmm. What's the risk? The risk is like Labyrinth didn't do great in theaters, and then it made a shit ton of money on VHS home video market and became this massive merchandising thing. And now it's something that we're talking about 40 years later.
Mm. Yeah, and they're always trying to, like, come up with a sequel for it, but, like, they want to do it right, so it's taking a long time to do. There's little stories here and there. There's like a fucking Masquerade Ball to do every year with the Henson Company's approval. Like, it's a movie that has legs, and it's been great to. It's always great to see movies like this. Like, this is a movie that I wish I liked a lot more than I do. But it's really cool that, like, I can just come back to, like, oh god, we used to have it so good when it came to these with puppetry and all these designs. And I think a lot of people who grew up with the movie like you did, like, you kind of forgive a lot more of its flaws and stuff. And I think that this is a movie that's going to be timeless. I think people are going to talk about Labyrinth in 40 years as well. I think it's going to be a movie that's going to really keep on going.
Yeah, and obviously the Bowie factor is always going to put a big beacon over this movie where if you find the music of Bowie and you realize, oh, he's in this family-friendly, weird puppet movie from the 80s, like, okay, let's check this out. So it's always going to, like, whereas Dark Crystal, you might find Dark Crystal through Labyrinth, but Dark Crystal's a harder one to kind of come to on your own. Mm-hmm. I think the Bowie factor is always going to make this movie more relevant.
Yeah. And Bowie...
Sorry.
And David Bowie's been dead for a decade now, and people are still talking about this when it comes to David Bowie's acting career, because he had a very I think he had Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence around this point in time, too, and that's a fantastic movie, but also that's not one you can show to children. You cannot show Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me to children. You can show Labyrinth to children.
Yeah. If they were redoing this, who's the contemporary figure that gets the David Bowie role?
Ooh, so does it have to be a musical figure?
It's got to be someone who can sing a little bit. Mm-hmm.
What about Austin Butler?
Yeah, I mean, he has this kind of similar look, right? And he's, he did the Elvis stuff. You wouldn't want him getting caught in another accent loop of being unable to shake his perverted goblin voice.
That'd be so funny. There's Jim Jeffries had a great bit about, we're on a stand-up special about how, like, Austin Butler, he kept his accent the entire award season because he couldn't shake the accent there. And Jim Jeffries is like, well, you never hear someone who's played Adolf Hitler in a movie can't shake the German accent.
Yeah, really.
Like, you're just trying to say this because you want the awards press. Like, oh wow, he's that invested in the character. He could have swapped the accent anytime he wanted.
I mean, Chalamet's pretty goblin-like. I don't know if he can sing.
Yeah, he did The Complete Unknown. He did all the singing in that.
Oh, true. But do you think like a Bob Dylan goblin? He's like, hey, Sarah, how you doing? Want to come to my goblin kingdom?
He also did Wonka. He was Willy
Wonka. I never saw that, yeah.
It's fine. That movie's kind of boring, but I yelled at a bunch of teenagers to shut up during the movie, which is kind of fun.
This movie's for me!
Yeah.
Not for you!
Exactly.
For old guys.
Listen, if you wanted to talk to your friends, just stay at home.
Give Sarah the poison pea. I am not a creep. Yeah. I think like a Bob Dylan creepy goblin would be good. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What if you were doing like a Lady Gaga as the Goblin King kind of?
Oh, you do her like a cross gender, or is she the Goblin Queen, and then you go with like I don't know, one of those Stranger Thing fellows.
Noah
Schnapp. I guess they're all like 25.
Yeah. Yeah, get Noah Schnapp to come in there and, like, come out as gay to all the goblins.
Did he come out as gay to the goblins?
Well, in Stranger Things, the show, there's this one scene where he comes out as being gay, and, like, the funniest thing is, like, it's like an all-hands-on-deck thing where he's coming out to not just, like, his friends or his mom, he's coming out to, like, 40 people.
The Demogorgon? He tells the Demogorgon, and the Demogorgon's like...
There are people in the room, like, crying and, like, hugging him. They're like, you two characters have never met before.
And in the Stranger Things universe, the AIDS epidemic, what's the status of that?
Don't mention it at all.
Oh. Yikes.
Which, like, honestly, if you wanted some authenticity, some actual drama to mine, it's like, you know, have, like, yeah, we're okay if you're gay, but, like, the AIDS stuff, it's scary. This gay cancer is killing us all, that Reagan's scaring
There's a mysterious thing, yeah.
The stranger thing was that cancer the whole time.
Yeah. The whole movie was just a metaphor. Yeah. I love this movie. There should be more movies like this. More movies should be weird and just have, like there's... Like, what else can you say is like this? It's a musical puppet movie with a young heroine and David Bowie, and very, like, wears all of its inspiration on its sleeve. Like, explicitly through some of the set deck, like, references Wizard of Oz, Lewis Carroll, you know.
Maurice Sendak.
Who sued the production and wound up with a special thanks credit in the credits. Yeah, I just think, like, more people should take a swing like this, because there's nothing else like this, and there's a reason why this endures. And, you know, you can make a movie for $80 million these days, and it could be dead on arrival at the box office, and then also something that people never talk about again, because it's just there's nothing there. There's no heart. There's no humanity.
Yeah, like, my final thoughts on Labyrinth is, like, you should definitely check it out if you've not seen it, because it's just, like, a lot of pure artistry on display, and we need more movies like this.
Amen.
So thank you so much for joining me, Potter. Anything you want to plug?
I want to plug this podcast.
All right, appreciate it. Yeah, so because we're recording this early, I don't know when it's going to release, so I can't tell you what episode's coming up next, but hopefully it'll be a good one. You can follow me on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at BWishart. You can also follow MoviePod on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, and YouTube. Please send some emails into moviepodmailbag@gmail.com if you have any fun movie-related stories, any questions, anything at all. I would love to do a mailbag episode at some point, so send in some questions. Yeah, until next week, when I will be talking about some movie that will be good, bad, but hopefully interesting in some way. Take care.